These last few days, months, years have been difficult for all of us. Today we celebrate Buddha's Parinirvana. We reflect on the deep changes that we have all been faced with, dreams that have died, ways of being drastically altered. We each have had family and friends who have passed on. And also we have our teachers and mentors who linger still, strongly in our memories. Venerable Wanji, Thich Nhat Hanh, our four-legged teacher, Anjin. I bow to these teachers with love and gratitude. I bow to you, who are all my teachers, especially Venerable Myohye, with love and gratitude. Thich Nhat Hanh taught us this. When the cloud is no longer in the sky, it doesn't mean the cloud has died. The cloud is continued in other forms, like rain or snow or ice. So you can recognize your cloud in her new forms. If you are very fond of a beautiful cloud, and if your cloud is no longer there, you should not be sad. Your beloved cloud might have become the rain, calling on you. Darling, darling, don't you see me in my new form? And then you will not be struck with grief and despair. Your beloved one continues always. Meditation helps you recognize her continued presence in this new form. A cloud can never die. A cloud can become snow or hail or rain. But it is impossible for a cloud to pass from being into non-being. And that is true with your beloved one. She has not died. She has continued in many new forms. And you can look deeply and recognize her in you and around you. Thich Nhat Hanh continues to live in each of us. I recognize him in you, and you, and you, and you. Darling, I see you. I see you as you offer your help to me with my mother, as you buy fruit from service, as you give parts of your life away, carrying even more meaning and loving presence into this world. With every action, I see you as you live your own life in service to so many. And I am in awe. One of my fondest memories of Venerable Wanji was at the retreat in Maine. We gathered in the large living room, many sanghas eagerly pushed together. We sat 4 to a couch, elbow to elbow, knee to knee on the floor, or standing on the edges of the room to hear his teaching on emptiness. Emptiness, shunyata, how both ironic and poignant. He dispelled the misuse and pretentiousness of the word enlightenment and dove into explaining shunyata. With these teachings, we were brought together in and one, and we're in one mind, like we do when we chant. One mind. And today, we celebrate that also through these teachings. Venerable Wanji continues. He exists in ideas, memories, and even form. In photos, and in the reality we call virtual. I hear his laugh. The last thing Venerable Wanji shared on Facebook before he passed was a memory of a quote from a 1900s baseball player, Shoeless Joe Jackson. This was an awakening poem, and Venerable Wanji lived his life just like that for us. There comes a time when all the cosmic tumblers have clicked into place and the universe opens itself up for a few seconds to show you what's possible. Woof, woof! What is possible? How can I help you? It's all good.
Early Buddhism dealt with the problem of impermanence in a very rational manner. This concept is known as anicca in Buddhism, according to which impermanence is an indomitable and inescapable fact of human existence, from which nothing that belongs to this earth is ever free. The word anicca is a Pali word for impermanence. Literally, a means non, and anicca refers to constant, implying that the anicca is a temporary and inconsistent, and this is the core concept. Buddhism declares that there are 5 processes on which no human being has control and which none can ever change. These 5 processes are namely the power of growing old, of not falling sick, of dying, of decay of things that are perishable, and the passing away of that which is liable to pass. Buddhism, however, suggests that the escape from this is very possible, and it is through Nirvana. How to accept the impermanence of life? 1, we accept it as normal. 2, share and let go. 3, seek opportunity seek opportunity in impermanence. 4, show gratitude. 5, treat your life as finite. 6, be mindful. 7, do not get attached. And 8, put yourself through the way of beauty. It's interesting with impermanence because as I speak to you, which probably took about 4 or 5 minutes, I am not the same person that started. In that short period of time, I have aged, my cells have changed, some have died, some have grown. So every moment, every day, we are changing. We have become different. And this is impermanence. Nothing stays exact forever. Every moment, every breath we take, things change. In that short period of time, my hair has grown. Even though you do not perceive it, and I don't perceive it, it is happening. we change. And that's just simply the way it is. And this is something we have to accept.
The Maha Prajna Nirvana Sutra, the discourse on the passing away of the Blessed One, records in all the events that occurred during the last months and days of the Buddha's life. A severe intestinal sickness fell upon him, causing him much pain and agony. He was on the verge of death, but with a great level of self-control and mindfulness, he bore the illness patiently and kept hold of his life. He only told his closest companion, his cousin, Ananda, "Ananda, I'm now grown old and full of years. My journey is drawing to a close. I've reached the sum of my days. I'm turning 80 years of age, and just as worn out as a cart. Ananda can only with much additional care be made to move along. So the body of the Tathagata can only be kept going with much infusion of willpower." The one activity that brought the Buddha ease and peace was meditation. It is only when the Tathagata, ceasing to attend to any outward thing and to experience any worldly sensation, attains to the signless, anamita, concentration of mind and dwells within it. It is only then that the body of the Tathagata is at ease. Ananda struggled with the condition of being a Buddha. He had not yet realized nirvana, and he was not skilled in practice as many of his fellow monks. He was personally attached to the Buddha and would later become the model for those practitioners who needed more personal human guidance to encourage them. A few days later, Ananda learned that the Buddha's two chief disciples, Sariputra and Magdalgayana, had passed away. The Buddha felt some exasperation at Ananda's visible distress. Was it not the essence of the Dharma that nothing lasted forever, and that there is always separation from everything and everyone we love? Did Ananda think that Sariputra or Magdalgayana took the teachings and insights by which they, as monks, lived with them? This illness gradually abated, and when quite recovered, he called the Venerable Ananda, his personal attendant, and addressed him, said, "Therefore, Ananda, each of you must make himself an island, make himself and no one else his refuge." To the Buddha, news of his disciples' passing was joyous. How could he be sorrowful and lament when they had reached the final goal of their quest? But for the unawakened, such as Ananda, there was still a sense of poignancy and grief at the loss of his spiritual brothers and at the thought of the Buddha's ultimate end. At this time, much of the Buddha's inner circle had passed on, including Prajapati Gautami, Buddha's aunt mother, Yasodhara, Buddha's wife, and Rahula, Buddha's son. In their travels, they were no longer greeted with excited crowds. Instead, they were two old men struggling on their own, experiencing the weariness and loneliness due to the passing away of friends that marks the dukkha of old age. By this time, the Buddha was now at Vesali. Ananda and the Buddha spent some time at one of the shrines there. And the Buddha mentioned that he had the ability to fully live out the remaining period of history if he wished. Had Ananda begged the Buddha to stay in the world out of compassion for all the living beings that needed guidance. But Ananda did not fully understand what the Buddha was asking and went off on his own to sit beneath a tree. It was then, when the Buddha was alone, that Mara, the Buddha's shadow self, appeared, urging the Buddha to find Parinirvana now, Why go on? You deserve your final rest. There was no point in continuing this struggle. The Buddha felt his life force ebbing away, but he knew it was not yet time to enter the bliss of final nirvana. His mission was not yet complete until he made his final instructions to the Sangha and bid them a formal farewell. In 3 months' time, he told Mara, the Tathagata will realize Parinirvana. Before a great gathering of monks, he explained they had nothing new to offer them. I've only taught you things that I've experienced fully for myself. He took nothing based on trust, and so too must they learn all the truths he taught and make them through meditation and living mindfully direct experience. Live the Dharma for the sake of others. The holy life is not solely for the benefit of those who've awakened and kept only for themselves. For the sake of the people, for the welfare and happiness of the many, out of compassion for the whole world, and for the good and well-being of all. No Buddhist could depend on another person's one need, one of their number to lead the order. Have recourse to no one else for refuge. Hold fast to the Dharma as an island. Hold fast to the Dharma as a refuge. Resort to no other refuge. The Dharma and the Dharma alone was his refuge. No one teacher. The next day, they both went out begging and came to a grove owned by Chunda, the son of a blacksmith. Chunda listened to the Buddha's teachings and offered him dinner. The Buddha ate what was offered, a special dish called Sukramadava, but instructed the monks to eat the other food at the table. When he finished eating, he told Chunda to bury what remained, as no one, not even a god, could digest it. The Sukramadaya was poisoned. That night, the Buddha began to vomit blood and was afflicted with a violent pain. But with the will only he could muster, he controlled his illness and urged Ananda that he and the small retinue of monks traveled to Kushinara. They were in a region where few, if any, found interest in Buddhist areas or ideas. The Buddha knew when they reached Kushinara that he would realize Parinirvana. What is Nirvana? And how does it differ from Parinirvana? Nirvana means cooling off or going out, like a flame, to extinguish. An arhat, having extinguished the flames of craving, hatred, and ignorance, but still retain a residual of fuel while still in the body, using the senses, the mind, and experiencing emotions. But when the arhat died, the flame could not reignite and therefore could not spark a new existence. The arhat became free from samsara and would be totally absorbed into the peace of nirvana. But what does that mean? The Buddha preferred to explain nirvana by what it wasn't, as there were no terms adequate to describe something that transcended the senses and the mind. Where there is neither earth nor water, light nor air, neither infinity or space, it's not infinity of reason, but nor is it an absolute void. It's neither this world or another world. It is both sun and moon. It's an existence beyond the self, and blissful because there's no selfishness. For the unawakened, those still gripped by egotism, may find it impossible to imagine this state. Those who've experienced separation from the ego understand that selflessness is not a void. This is why when the Buddha spoke of nirvana, he used both positive and negative terms. Taintless, undisintegrating, unweakening, non-distress, non-affliction, unhostility, a cancellation of all things intolerable in life. However, it is not annihilation. It is deathlessness. And then the positive traits: truth, the subtle, the other shore, the everlasting, peace, the superior goal, safety, purity, freedom, independence, the harbor, the refuge, the beyond. All the supreme goodness of life. an incomprehensible peace. Many of these words echo those used by other religious traditions for God. The Buddha can be seen as the living embodiment of Nirvana. As Jesus was considered the living expression of God in human form, the Buddha is the human expression of the state of Nirvana. When asked about who he was after he awakened, the Buddha replied that he was one who has woken up. Not special, not a god, just one who's woken up. Now the Buddha was reaching the end of his life, shedding the dignity of age and reaching the other shore. Parinirvana is nirvana after death. To experience parinirvana, one must first have realized nirvana. And then when the body dies, the being moves on to parinirvana. One who realizes nirvana is no longer subject to the samsaric cycles. They will not experience rebirth and instead experience parinirvana. The Mahaparinirvana Sutra describes parinirvana as the realm of the eternal true self of the Buddha. It is a state of pure, endless bliss. So worn out with sickness, with feeble limbs, the Buddha now journeyed on with much difficulty, followed by the Venerable Ananda in a company of a few monks. Even in this last, long, wearisome journey of his, the Buddha never failed his attention to others. Then, on the way, he stopped for Pukusa, a disciple of Alara Kalama, and replied to all his questions, and so instructed him that Pukusa offered himself as a follower of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. The last disciple. The Buddha now reached the solid grove of the Malas at Kushinara, the journey's end. Knowing that here would be his last resting place, he told Venerable Ananda, "I am weary, Ananda," and would lie down. Spread over for me the couch with its head to the north between the twin solid trees. He then lay down on his right side, composed and mindful, with one leg resting on the other. He gave instructions for his funeral, but this proved to be too much for Ananda. While he understood intellectually all that the Buddha had taught, he had yet to know it directly. And as a result, he became gripped by the pain of loss of his friend and teacher. When the Buddha heard of Ananda's grief, he sent for him to come to his side. Speaking now to the Venerable Ananda, the Buddha said, "That is enough, Ananda. Don't be sorrowful. Don't grieve. You have waited on me with constant love and kindness. You have taken care of my physical needs and supported me in all your words and thoughts. You've done all this to help me joyfully and with your whole heart. You have earned merit, Ananda. Keep trying and you will soon be awakened too." You may be thinking the world of the teacher is now a thing of the past. Now we have no more teacher. But that is not how you should see it. Let the Dharma and the discipline that I taught be your teacher when I am gone. The Buddha always told his followers to look not at him, but the Dharma. He himself had never been important. They who fulfill the greater and lesser duties, they who are correct in life, walking according to the precepts, it is they who rightly honor, reverence, and venerate the Tathagata with their worthiest homage. Therefore, Ananda, be steady in the fulfillment of the greater and lesser duties, and be correct in life, walking according to the precepts. Thus, Ananda, should you train yourselves. All individual things pass away. Seek your liberation with diligence. And those are the last words spoken by the Buddha. He then passed into a coma before experiencing the extinction that was paradoxically the supreme state of being and the final goal of humanity.